This presentation is Earth Insights for Area 1 Ticket Risk and Clearing. And this is basically the story about how Stake Center began using these insights and the results they saw, and most importantly, the things that they learned through the process. There were things that went really well and things that if we were to do it again, we might do a little bit differently. And so I think it's really valuable to call those out and learn from those as an industry. So here's the punchline. Stake Center increased field locate efficiency by 20% while reducing excavation damages using Earth Insights. And so that's a big number because Stake Center is a big company and does a lot of locates. So 20% is a huge efficiency gain. So the problem here, as we hear, a common theme today and every day, is a large work volume. They get a ton of locate requests, and they don't have the resources, nobody does, to visit all of those sites and spend the, to do 100% risk mitigation on all of them, right? So, and there are sensitive tasks at hand for safety and stability of critical infrastructure. That's the problem. What happened was in about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, Stake Center approached us and said, hey, we understand you have some North American models that's trained, US and Canada data. We want to use that for the risk model, and then we also want to train a model that will share with us the relative likelihood that a ticket does not need boots on the ground in the field. And the result, as I mentioned earlier, was a 20% increase in locate efficiency and a reduction in damage rate at that time. I kind of mentioned earlier, so there's two insights at hand here. One is risk, the other is clearing. Both of these provide a relative likelihood of whether the excavation will result in damage. So this is the risk likelihood, incident likelihood model. And then also, what is the relative likelihood that the locate request can be safely cleared and not dispatched to the field and located. Now, this is the part that I already covered this morning. I won't go through it again, but just to summarize, using our data catalog along with Stake Center specific data to provide risk and safety insights and operational efficiency insights. And again, I only have this here because we were supposed to do this yesterday. So here we're focused on incident likelihood. They also use impact as well, but mainly likelihood. And then clearing insights, which is, can it be cleared from the office? No site visit needed. Should it absolutely be dispatched to the field and located? And then a third option, somewhere in between those two where, hey, I need a human to review this because it's a little unknown. So that's that augmented decision-making aspect. So again, tickets with a low clearing score would be dispatched to the field automatically, and tickets which have a high clearing score would be cleared automatically. And then in the middle would be your human review. And these thresholds are configurable. So depending on their risk tolerance, that can fluctuate from month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year, they can either decide to be more risk averse or risk lavish. And I will say, important note that they focus this on only fiber tickets. So we're talking only about fiber communication tickets. And they also use some automations to, obviously auto clear, auto dispatch, but then also they have several other automations geared around assigning work to the most appropriate locator. On top of these insights, we also provide explainability. So when there is, low score, high score, medium score, they can get these reasons to understand why something was scored high, low, or somewhere in between. And this is really useful for us too, because when something comes in and maybe the insight isn't exactly what we might expect it to be, we can look at these things and say, okay, this is what's going on here. This is what's causing the score to be what it is. So with that said, I'll hand it over to Bill.
Hi, my name is Bill Wag. I'm with Irth. I've worked pretty directly with Stake Center for, at this point, 3 or 4 years. Was helped them configure this very in-depthly. But I do want to point out a couple things before I bring Craig up here to talk about how they have it set up. If you think about how they're using this system, Kyle mentioned earlier that we're able to identify 50% of damages in the top 8% of tickets, right? So what does that mean? When you're stacking models on top of each other, you can help prevent those things from ever occurring. If you think about it, because I know a lot of you guys are gas or oil and gas facility owners, those 8% of tickets probably should never even go to human screeners if you have them on your team, right? So there's different ways to use these, not just to automate this. Obviously if it's a top 8% damage risk, you're gonna go ahead and send that right to the field immediately because you wanna give your people as much time as you can. I know a lot of people hold tickets for about 8 hours to allow a human manually try to go through and screen it. You don't want to do that with your riskiest tickets, right? And we also probably don't want them looking at tickets that are in your bottom 50% of being able to be cleared. They're probably only going to be able to clear 1 or 2 of those, if any, right? Why would you have them looking at your top 50% of clearing tickets and then on top of it, your least risky tickets on top of that? Right? And what you then see is that you have efficiency gains in that your people in the field are able to see the tickets immediately for your high risk tickets that aren't really going to ever be able to be cleared. And then secondarily, they're looking at the tickets and being able to take more burden off of the people in the field if you're clearing in the office, because the tickets that they're looking at are actually clearable, right? So those are just kind of some of the things that we want to talk about, and then bring up Craig now from Stake Center so he can help kind of go through some of the ways that they've configured and what they've done to help mitigate their risk while they're looking at it.
My name is Craig Kennedy. I'm IT director at Stake Center. I've been at Stake Center almost 13 years now. I've been heavily involved with the ticket management of our locators, and to make the locators as intelligent as possible is my job, my main job. We've been using the Insight since the beginning of the year. A lot of learning for sure on both ends, but we've gotten to a point now that we're very happy with the results we're getting and the results that are coming back to us.
So I think my first question really for you is going to be, how are you leveraging risk right now to change behaviors in the field, and then what activities are you planning on taking in the future?
So we haven't jumped on the notification side of it yet. We want to do that. I think there's a great advantage there. We just been busy with the other. The risk, of course, when we get a ticket in, we score it on risk and we score it on clearing. Of course, if a risk is at a certain level, clearing doesn't matter what it is because the risk is going to prevent it from being worked on in any fashion other than a locator boots on the ground. We also use it for auditing. Our auditors that come behind our locators, they can go out and audit a ticket that's a cable TV drop to a house, or they can go out and audit a ticket that's a 12-inch force main. We'd rather have them auditing tickets on the higher end and riskier tickets, and this gives us that opportunity to be able to do that. We have screens set up for our auditors that see only the high risk tickets and use those as their auditing tools. We also use it for determining if the locator, if we have a high risk ticket and we have a locator that's only been with us a couple months and we just come out of training or whatever, we determine if that locator should be assigned to that ticket by the risk score as well, or do we get a more seasoned locator or someone that's more familiar with that area until that locator can get the experience behind them to be able to do the ticket at that risk level.
And I think it's kind of important to talk about, and it's great to follow Lindsay after the workflow automation and the process automation. The AI and the AI scores are fantastic, right? They're great. But the biggest thing that they need to do is drive change in the field. If I just stick a score on your ticket, that's not going to lower any of your risk, right? So going through these things that they're doing to try to change behavior in the field, that's what really, really matters with all of these things. And that's why a lot of this is so driven and focused around that. Can you tell me any challenges that you had while we were implementing this?
Well, originally, yeah. Of course, it's a learning experience on the clearing side of it. It has to have so much data to be able to determine if it's clearable and a reflection back on what that would have been 6 months ago if that ticket came out versus today. So we have a lot of learning experience on the front end of it, the application itself, learning that to understand if there is a chance of this being a clearable ticket. The other, we have to stay on top of this as well. Every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we get an update from Irth, and I have to go into all of our smart scores. And if we see that a particular state clearing ability or even the risk ability has changed, and they do. Every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I go in and change my levels of what I expect is now clearable or not clearable, or what is risky and what is not risky. And I'll go in every 2 or 3 weeks and adjust those.
What are some of the things in Smart Score that you're doing to block or prevent the clearing of tickets, or maybe expand the clearing of tickets?
Well, the smart scoring is going to be if the risk level is always the first number one. If the risk level is at a certain level across the board almost, that completely prevents it from getting any other consideration towards a clearing or any other consideration of it going to somebody else besides somebody that's more experienced. Once it meets the risk level, then we start looking at the clearing ability on the fiber tickets, and of course that's always learning. It's learning as it's going along, I think that.
Yeah, and some of the things that I know, just again from being in the system with Greg on this, obviously the AI model will learn if you have a risky excavator that's new to your area and you receive a damage from them, but it takes time, right, for the system to learn those things. If you get 2 damages, you can go into the smart score and immediately block anything from being able to clear from that from that excavator, right? If there's a work type that's coming in, I know other companies have dealt with this in Arizona, where there was a fiber installing company that was coming in and was causing all kinds of trouble for everyone else, including power and gas. Even though they were micro-trenching, they were still causing problems. And they were able to block some of those things out. And while the system would learn that over a week or 2, it takes time for that data to get back in. The smart scoring allows you to make immediate reactions and take immediate actions if you see some sort of pattern that the system hasn't quite picked up on yet.
Well, what the smart scoring also does for us, and this just became available to us recently, is not only can we see the prints on the map from a customer, and it's kind of outside of the insights a little bit, but on the smart scoring side, if it finds that there are prints or the plate actually running through the dig area or within the buffer that we set around the dig area, it'll actually go in and look at the attributes on those particular lines. And if there's a high volume count on fiber lines, fiber counts on a line, that can immediately eliminate it from going through any other consideration as well. So if we have a line that comes in and it's got 288 fiber counts in it, that completely, when that happens in the smart score, it completely eliminates everything else. Doesn't care about the risk or clearing ability or anything else. It completely sends it straight to the market there. We have some areas that have maybe it's a line that's feeding a military base, or it's feeding the stock exchange and so on. We have those type of things as well. If it comes in and it's meeting that criteria, the smart score prevents it from going any further.
And this is a little bit different because it's not going to be for your field, right? Especially for you guys. One of the things that you've done, I know, is prevented your guys in the field from being able to clear anymore, right? Unless they're on site
they-
and talk to the excavator. So building trust internally with them wasn't hugely important in the AI, but obviously with the leadership, there had to be trust that had to start being built into this. How did you guys take some steps for that?
Yeah, you have to understand, the business we're in is a dog eat dog, no doubt. And locators, we have to incentivize them many times on the amount of damages they may incur, amount of tickets that get done an hour, and so on. So of course, whenever they were being incentivized and they had clearable tickets, these numbers were a different thing than what they are now that we're clearing it before that. So there was a no doubt a learning curve for the locators to understand, and we had to change the metrics on our incentives as well to make up for that.
How are you kind of balancing automation with expertise in the field right now? Or is that something we're still working through?
Still working through that. Probably the biggest thing there is getting that experience of the locator and having the system understand that and help us understand that this is a locator that shouldn't be going out to us and this one is one that should be going.
So right now the field experience is more based off of risk than it is clearing, and it's more this person shouldn't do this thing.
That's correct.
Than it is based on the clearing aspect.
That's correct. That's correct.
So, Craig, I'll let you give some closing remarks, and then if anybody has any questions after.
No, I appreciate, I know, if we weren't doing this, somebody would eventually be doing this. I'm certainly going to be involved with this from the beginning here. It's definitely the future of our market for sure.
I have one more question. What does a 20% efficiency gain in the field mean? And for you and your operations, what does that allow you to do?
Honestly, the biggest thing that's, and the biggest issue that's in our industry is not so much a platform or an avenue for a locator to have a job or a position that's a long-term position. Our biggest issue in our business is turnover. So we want to make career positions, and it's kind of hard to do that with some contracts. Gas and electric will pay a premium for tickets. Some of the others are less amount. And so we have to juggle with the turnover of keeping locators. The 20% gives us opportunities like the gas and electric do to get a premium on the tickets to be able to make a position available to the locator that's a long-term position and not a quick turnover.
Yeah, that's a significant number, right? So if you're thinking field locator, works 8 hours a day, that's almost 2 hours a day per locator that you gain. And so that's great.
Thank you. So, and just kind of to add on to that idea, Kyle, it kind of ensures that people are spending their 8 hours a day on the tickets that they should be spending their 8 hours a day on, right? They're not sitting in their truck going through, and we all know there are areas that we have, still grids we're getting tickets on, and you probably shouldn't be getting that ticket. Well, if you have a contract locator, if you have locators internally, they're spending an hour, in some cases 2 hours a day, sitting in their truck going through and clearing tickets, right? That means they're not at tickets that they should be at to prevent damages. And that's where that efficiency gain really helps drive risk and really helps drive lowering damages.
All right.
How does multiple update tickets, how does that affect the risk model? Is a 10 update ticket and then have just as much risk as the very first ticket?
No, the system learns. The system learns based off of activities that the people have done.
And how much data do you think you need? 2 years, 3 years for it to be?
Yeah, so the way that this clearing model works is on a per CDC basis. Right? And that makes sense because a CDC effectively represents usually underground assets. So if you're gas electric, you have one CDC for electric, one CDC for gas, so maybe a few. And so our rule of thumb is that you need at bare minimum, we won't even provide a score if you don't have 1,000 tickets for that CDC within the last year. we need at least that many tickets, and that is bare minimum. So if you have a CDC that's not a reg code, member code, whatever you want to call it, that is not called in very often, let's say a few hundred times a year, we won't even be able to, we will refuse to score it. You'll get a 0, and it will say you should not clear this, because we just don't have enough. And so we want to have that level of confidence that we can provide some meaningful insight there. That's a great question. Tim, Jason.
Yep. All right. We are probably a few weeks away. We're running the screening model right now. We ran it through. We had the bespoke. We're still vetting it out. And one of the things we're working on is we're not going to auto screen. We're going to auto assign. So we're on the other side of the spectrum. So we want to free up our screeners that say, hey, this ticket is guaranteed to be located somewhere where our second party locator has to look. What we're running into is we're deemed as false truck rolls. So as we're testing the model out, we're saying, okay, here's the 10% on the low end, we're going to automatically send those out. We're coming back and seeing some of those really could have been screened. And we know there's an acceptable level, but do you know of any other tips, tricks, or anything like that to get that false truck roll rate down lower? I've been using smart scores to kind of take out like emergencies. There's certain ticket types and work types and stuff like that I can kind of do, but I'm still not at a comfortable level yet to get that smart score down to where I need it to be.
Sure. So that would be I guess a false negative, right? So it's saying you should dispatch it. You should not clear this. Right? You should dispatch it. And when in reality it goes to the field, and then they come back and say this is clear, right? And you're right. This is not a 100% precision rate, right? So you are going to have the occasional false negative. I know we've been running this for NiSource for a pretty short period of time, so I do think it's probably time that, what has been like a month or two?
Yeah, it's only been, yeah.
Okay, so I do think it's time to start reviewing those and seeing, hey, are there things that we can improve about our modeling to be able to reduce that rate? Right? And we, through the training process, we have, when we evaluate the training model, we do know what that false negative rate should be, right? So I'm curious to know, is it higher or more in line with what we expected? So we'll get into that here in the next week or two.
I have a quick question on that then. Since they already have the screening turned on, how easy is it? He doesn't have to send any more data in, though, right? We already have all the data information, so we can do that on our own, right?
In terms of retraining?
Yeah.
Yeah, all that's automated. So there's a data export that's automated every day, I believe. For NiSource, it goes that data gets submitted to the training pipeline, and it's one of those automated models that gets deployed every day. And that's important because, again, we see a lot of drift with our clearing models, so it's very important to keep it hydrated with recent data.
And just to point out, one of the things that's happened recently is that the models retrain daily, right? But it takes time over the period for it to really take like a large effect. Like Greg says, he sees it over like a 2-week period.
Kyle, is it safe to say that the models have to learn and our data scientists have to learn?
Yes, it is, Jeff.
All right, we got a question back here.
Okay, Tim, you're next. Sorry. After.
So, I'm going to ask our question. I'm an excavator, locator. I work in claims. So, I show up as an excavator, and I'm using this from actual experience. It drives me up the wall. I get an email, all clear. I show up, it's not all clear. And I'm waiting 2 hours, 3 hours to get something located, and now my time's been wasted. And I'm saying that as a frustration because this is a model a lot of people are going to. We hold our guys to the expectation, if you see something, we're not going to excavate. But we're kind of feeling a little held hostage that we have to call a no-show in because we got an email all clear. I mean, we could just dig and tear stuff up, but that's not who we are. And then secondly, like I said, I've been around for 30 years, so is your customer on board with ticket screening?
I didn't catch that last word.
was the customer on board with the ticket screening? I know it's AI risk, we're not gonna go show up, that's literally the definition of ticket screening. I was just asking if they were on board with it, the customer's on board.
Yeah, the customer's on board with this, right? Like, and they're on board with it because of cost, right? That's what it comes down to.
Right.
But to your point in the no-shows, I'm dealing with this currently with another implementation of this. And there is an aspect that we have to talk about where the model is learning bad behavior, and we're trying to figure out how to avoid that. We have examples where the ticket was sent 4 times to a locator, and it was cleared 4 times, and on the 5th time, the AI system had learned to clear it. And now they're blaming the AI system. But it had been cleared 4 times by a human before, right? So there is a challenge with that we're dealing with and trying to go through and train and learn from.
Well, and I think that's the one clear thing that you need to say there, Bill, is that clearing tickets is not always automated, you know? This is just one method to review that ticket maybe and identify those clears. But clears occur regardless. And I was hoping you'd raise your hand, Craig.
Yeah, to add to that, if a 3 hour short or whatever gets called in, like you're talking about, if you go out there and find utilities, it's not run through the process. We exclude those, just like emergencies, we exclude no-shows, 3 hours and so on, so they don't run through the process either.
And, okay.
I was just basically get kicked out, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bill's right. You know, it really comes down to consistent and accurate data collection, right? So if you have a locator in the field that's clearing things that he or she should not be clearing, then the model will learn that bad behavior. And we have seen instances of that. They're not, it's the exception, not the rule. But we are also looking at possible solutions for that, right? And so, we'll have to get creative, and it's something that I think will be a really interesting problem to solve. Tim.
I'm curious to know if there are any rough successfully cleared percentages on single utility tickets versus tickets that have multiple utilities on them.
So we're looking at them as individual utilities. And so let's just say there's 4 companies there. Each individual ticket gets scored. Not all of that will get cleared because the way that it comes into the system is they come in as 4 individual tickets. And if one ticket shouldn't be cleared, they're running on all 4. Right. So that's how it's working. So they're not going through and looking at it as a single ticket with 4 utilities in it. They're looking at it as 4 individual tickets, which generate 4 individual risk scores and 4 individual clearing scores.
Okay.
Because we're looking at facilities, we're looking at depth, we're looking at all of those things, and all of those change within each individual utility.
Totally makes sense. We've been looking at single locate tickets have, a much higher chance of being cleared than those with multiple utilities on them.
Correct. Yeah, and again, just to point out with the retraining and things like that, right? When you're training a model or you're doing anything, we can even think of a person. If a ticket comes in and it comes in 10 times, right? And the first 9 times it's cleared by someone with 20 years of experience, that person is terminated, and it goes to the locator that he's been training for the last 6 months. What's he going to do with the ticket? He's going to clear it. A model is no different, right? It's still learning from these things. And actually, what we're finding with this, what we see with a lot of stuff is pencil whipping, right? If someone gets hammered and they have 100 tickets that are due within the next 48 hours, they know they have to clear 40 tickets to be able to meet their time limit. So they're going to figure out how to clear 40 tickets. Where when you're using this system and then stacking it with a few other things that we're doing with them, including like how we're allocating tickets and things like that, and how we're routing tickets, you don't see that pencil whipping where a guy's overworked and he's just got to clear the ticket because he's got 100 tickets and he's going to be late and he's going to get fined or he's going to get whatever. This way it's consistent, and if he has 100 tickets and only 25 of them should be cleared, only 25 are going to get cleared. Right, so it brings some of those things up too.
Thank you.